As one of the world's most influential figures, Elon Musk's image may be complex to many, but his recent act has given a clearer picture of his person. Musk had noticed this elderly woman on a flight, who was clearly upset as she was separated from her child. But to everyone's surprise, Musk quietly stood up and offered his seat. Without drawing attention, he gave up his comfort for her. He moved away and allowed the woman to sit. What could have happened after this moment? Is there more to the story? Join us as we explore how Musk gave up his first-class seat in a flight. Musk gave up his first-class seat. When we think of Elon Musk, we often picture the audacious innovator, someone who pushes the boundaries of technology with SpaceX rockets and Tesla's electric cars. He is the kind of figure who sparks debates, whether it is about his leadership style or his visions for humanity. To many, Musk is an unstoppable force, sometimes controversial. But that is just one part of the story. There is a story about the other side to Musk. This isn't a story about innovation or technology. It is a story about a simple gesture. In Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon Musk, there is a touching moment that reflects a side of Musk not often seen. The story begins with Musk, seated comfortably in first class on a flight from San Francisco to Austin. As he relaxed, perhaps lost in thought about his many ventures, something unusual caught his attention. It was an elderly woman, clearly stressed. She had been seated apart from her child, making it impossible to sit with her child. As Musk noticed the elderly woman's clear discomfort, something stirred within him. Without any hesitation, he made a move that left many surprised. While most first-class passengers remained engrossed in their own worlds, Musk observed the woman's situation, and without hesitation, he quietly stood up from his seat. Although other passengers may have assumed a billionaire like him would never give up his seat, but Musk stood up, approached the mother, and, in a simple but powerful gesture, offered her his first-class seat. She was stunned. It wasn't just the unexpected offer that shocked her. It was who had made it. Here stood Elon Musk, a man who had achieved a lot in the tech world, yet was offering up his luxury seat without a second thought. Her initial hesitation was clear, perhaps out of disbelief, but Musk humbly insisted, and she gratefully accepted. As the mother and child settled into the first-class seat, Musk moved toward the coach section without drawing any attention to himself. In Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon Musk, which he titled Elon Musk, he recounts some inspiring moments of Musk. While the exact profession of the woman Musk helped was not specified, subsequent retellings of the story described her as a doctor, likely due to the calm and composed way she handled the situation with her child. Whether or not she was actually a doctor remains unclear, but what is undeniable is the impact Musk's gesture had on those who witnessed it. This selfless act was remarkable because it was private, without seeking attention or recognition. There were no cameras or media present to capture the moment, and Musk sought no public accolades. His kindness was a genuine expression, driven by compassion. Musk's story, as told by Isaacson, shows how even the simplest acts of kindness can leave lasting impressions on others. In this case, it wasn't about his fame or wealth. It was about stepping up in a small but meaningful way, one that would be remembered far longer than any headline about his latest invention. However, it might interest you to know that Musk's compassion didn't end with this one simple act. Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon Musk sheds light on Musk's remarkable acts of generosity, even on the global stage, especially during the Ukraine crisis. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, it wasn't just military attacks that left a devastating impact. Large parts of the country were suddenly cut off from communication as a result of the attacks. It was tough for rural communities, where families could not reach out to each other or get help during emergencies. Isaacson details how, amidst the chaos, Elon Musk stepped in with a swift decision after Ukraine requested Starlink activation. Musk agreed, and SpaceX responded by activating countrywide service, with the first shipment of Starlink terminals arriving just 2 days later. This move enabled rural Ukrainians to connect with loved ones and coordinate with emergency services. Although his decision sparked controversy regarding Starlink's use in military operations, his original intent remained rooted in a desire to help. Isaacson viewed this as an act of compassion. Musk, often seen as a business-minded visionary, showed a different side of himself by prioritizing helping those in desperate need over profit. This story didn't end there. 6 months into the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukraine's infrastructure was in shambles, leaving millions without reliable internet access. Emergency services, hospitals, and families were desperately struggling to stay connected. It was then that Elon Musk reaffirmed his commitment to Ukraine, announcing that SpaceX would send additional Starlink terminals and maintain service to the war-torn country. For Oksana, a nurse in Kyiv, this news brought tears of relief. She recalls that they were cut off from the world, no internet and no phones. They couldn't also coordinate medical aid or reach our loved ones. But Starlink's return meant Oksana could continue her life-saving work. Additionally, in Kharkiv, Sergeant Vitaly hailed Musk's decision as a miracle, stating that their communication lines were initially severed. Starlink gave them a voice, allowing them to coordinate with troops and receive critical updates. Musk's support went beyond just providing internet access. He assisted through various other acts. Isaacson believes his kind nature was shaped by background. The person of Elon Musk. Walter Isaacson's biography paints a different picture of Musk, other than how many regard him. Isaacson reveals that Musk's motivations are deeply influenced by his childhood experiences. He was not only shaped by his exceptional intelligence and drive, but also by hardships and traumas he faced growing up. The complex background may help explain the moments of unexpected compassion he shows, despite his typical tough approach to both life and business. Musk's journey from a challenging upbringing to becoming a tech mogul has put in him a unique perspective that sometimes manifests in acts of kindness. Going deeper in Musk's motivations reveals that his past has truly shaped his nature. Growing up in South Africa, Musk didn't have an easy childhood. He was a quiet, introverted child, often lost in his own thoughts. But it wasn't just his intellectual nature that made him different. Musk was also relentlessly bullied. One particularly violent incident stands out. A group of boys threw him down a flight of stairs and stomped on his head. The injuries from that day were severe enough to require multiple surgeries over several years. This was not just a physical assault. It left emotional scars that would influence his personality as an adult. In Isaacson's book, it's suggested that Musk's childhood struggles might explain some of the contradictions in his behavior. On one hand, he can be aggressive and unapologetically harsh in his dealings. But on the other hand, Musk has showed empathy and compassion in certain situations, as if he is acutely aware of others' pain because of his own suffering as a child. This is perhaps most evident in his quiet acts of kindness, such as giving up his first-class seat for a struggling mother. It's these actions, small but meaningful, that show a softer side of Musk, one that seems to be influenced by a desire to lift people from discomfort or hardship whenever he can. Isaacson's biography touches on another possible motivator for Musk's occasional acts of kindness, his complicated relationship with his father. Musk's father, Elon Musk, was a controversial figure in his life, one who Musk has described as emotionally abusive and toxic. Growing up in that environment might have driven Musk to develop a certain toughness, but it also may have planted the seeds for a sense of empathy. In his own words, Musk has said he doesn't want to inflict suffering on others, a possible reflection of his determination to avoid becoming like the father who caused him so much emotional turmoil. Musk's early life challenges, bullying, his father's behavior, and the isolation he felt as a child are likely the contributors to his motivations. While many see him as a person driven by ambition, his actions behind the scenes show a different side of him, one that seeks to quietly right small wrongs. It is as if Musk in his moments of kindness, is trying to compensate for the hardships he endured as a child. These gestures, whether giving up a first-class seat or using his technological empire to help others, reflect a deep desire to ease suffering. For Musk, compassion is not about grand displays of generosity, but rather small, meaningful moments. Even as he leads multiple billion-dollar companies, it seems he hasn't forgotten the value of a simple act of kindness. His childhood experiences, as described by Isaacson, may well be the key to understanding why, despite his often controversial actions, Musk sometimes chooses to do what's right, simply because he can. A deeper dive into Musk's motivations reveals a man shaped by his past, both the pain and the desire to prevent others from experiencing it. His acts of compassion show a glimpse of the boy who once suffered, now a man determined to make the world a little less harsh for those around him. Yet, his compassion extends far beyond what Isaacson captures in his book. Let's take a closer look at some of his acts of kindness. Musk's kindness beyond the biography. There is another side to Musk that also deserves attention: his charitable actions. One of the most notable examples of his generosity occurred during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. As the pandemic spread, hospitals around the world faced a crisis. The number of patients needing respiratory support went high. Unfortunately, ventilators, which are crucial for keeping these patients alive, were not enough. Many hospitals were overcrowded, and the situation grew worse by the day. Musk saw this urgent need and decided to act. He stepped up and donated over 1,200 ventilators to hospitals in need. These machines were not just pieces of equipment. They represented hope for patients struggling to breathe. Each ventilator had the potential to save lives. His decision to provide such essential resources was an example of how one person can make a difference in a crisis. One specific story stands out among these donations. A hospital in Los Angeles was on the brink of running out of ventilators. The medical staff there was working tirelessly, battling against the odds to save their patients. When they received Musk's ventilators, it was a moment of relief. The arrival of those machines provided a vital lifeline. It allowed doctors and nurses to continue their fight, ensuring patients had the best chance of survival. Musk's actions during this time were not about gaining fame or recognition. They were rooted in the desire to help. He did not seek publicity for his donations. His donations had an impact on many families. They were grateful for the opportunity to keep their loved ones a little longer. The ventilators gave hope when it seemed like there was none. Patients who might have otherwise faced grim outcomes were given a chance to recover. Musk's quick response showed that in times of crisis, empathy and action can go hand in hand. Moreover, Musk's commitment to helping during the pandemic extended beyond ventilators. He also supported the production of personal protective equipment for frontline workers. By facilitating the manufacturing of these essential supplies, he further contributed to the fight against the virus. This holistic approach to support demonstrated that his concern for human life went beyond just one aspect of healthcare. Musk's acts of kindness reflect a broader lesson about giving and compassion. In a world where many feel disconnected, he showed that anyone can contribute to the greater good. Whether through financial resources or other means, every small action matters. His donations provided resources when they were most needed. While his public persona often attracts scrutiny, it is important to acknowledge the positive contributions he has made. Another notable example of his generosity came in response to the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. This crisis had severely affected the community for years, leaving many residents, especially children, at risk. Flint's water crisis began in 2014 when the city switched its water supply to the Flint River. The new water source was not properly treated, leading to lead contamination in the pipes. This meant that families were drinking and bathing in water that was toxic. Schools in Flint were particularly affected. The water crisis caused serious health risks for students, affecting their development and overall well-being. The situation was dire, and many people felt helpless. Recognizing the urgency of this crisis, Musk took action. He decided to help by donating funds specifically for installing proper water filtration systems in Flint's schools. This decision was not just about providing clean water, it was about safeguarding the health of the community's children. Musk's donation aimed to ensure that students had access to safe drinking water, allowing them to focus on their education without the fear of lead poisoning. The installation of these water filtration systems was crucial. Many schools in Flint had been using bottled water for drinking and cooking. With Musk's contribution, schools could install permanent solutions to the water problem. The filtration systems helped remove contaminants, making the water safe for students and staff. This act of generosity showed that Musk cared deeply about the well-being of the children in Flint. Musk's actions reflect a broader theme in his philanthropic efforts: the importance of addressing urgent needs in communities. In the end, Elon Musk's journey is marked by moments of compassion, from donating funds to install water filtration systems in Flint to providing ventilators during the COVID-19 pandemic. Each act reflects his commitment to helping those in need. Yet, it is the simple gesture of giving up his first-class seat for an elderly woman that truly illustrates his humanity. In that quiet moment, he chose to prioritize another person's comfort over his luxury. It's these small, heartfelt actions that remind us of the power of kindness, showing that even a billionaire can take a step back to lift someone else up. What do you think about Elon Musk's act of kindness? Does it change your perspective on him? And what impact do you think these small gestures have on how he's perceived by the public? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating content. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You will love it.